When you put a girl up on a pedestal, when you're treating her like she's the prize, something clicks in her brain where she goes, whoa, I'm the prize here. I can relax a little bit. I don't have to try as hard. I don't have to impress him as much. I have options. And when she does that, her interest in you slowly starts to dwindle. So in this video, what we're going to talk about is how to reposition yourself where she views you as the prize, where in the interaction, you're the prize that she's pursuing. Hi, I'm Bobby Rio. So one thing that is crystal clear is that anytime you are treating a woman like she's above you, she instinctively begins to look at you as if you are below her. It's human nature. So what I want to discuss is, how can you be the prize with a woman? How can you have her seeing you as the prize? Because really, that's what she wants as much as you want. And what I mean by that is a lot of guys think, well, if I treat her like a princess, if I treat her like a prize, that's how I'm going to get her. But the reality is, we all want to be with somebody that we see as the prize. So if you're treating her like she's the prize, she goes, well, I'm the prize here. That means he's not. Does that make sense? If she knows she's the prize, well, you can't both be. And she wants to be with the prize. We all do. It's like I said, it's human nature. We want somebody that we believe we have to work for, that we have to win over. And if you're not giving her that, you're not really doing what she believes is romantic, right? Because in romance for a woman is winning a guy over, and she wants to win that prize over. So how do you do that? So we're going to go through 5 ways to position yourself as a prize. And the first one is more of a belief. And it's the belief, right? It's the unwavering belief that you are actually the prize. And this is really tough for a lot of guys, because a lot of guys go, well, I'm not the prize. She's better looking than me, or she's, more outgoing. She has more friends than me. They have all these things in their head that go, well, she's the prize. But we've all met the guy who really doesn't have a lot going for him, right? He's not making a lot of money. He's not the best looking guy. And he firmly, unwaveringly believes that he's the prize. And what happens when you do that? Other people buy into it. Women buy into it when you slap a really high price tag on yourself. And on the other hand, I coach a lot of guys that are good looking, at least average or above average looking. They have good jobs. I talk to them and I'm like, these guys are super personable. They're funny. Yet women are continually ghosting them or losing interest in them, because you can tell talking to these guys that they have a habit of putting women up on a pedestal, of believing the woman's the prize. And like I said, the minute she figures out that she's the prize, her interest in you starts to diminish. I tell a story sometimes about this friend, Mike of mine back in college, and he used to have this saying: if you think you're the man and you act like the man, then other people think you're the man. And then if other people think you're the man, well, then you're the man. And the very same thing could be said right here about being the prize. If you believe you're the prize, then you start acting like you're the prize. And when you act like the prize, women begin to treat you like you're the prize. And when they do that, you become the prize. It's very simple. It's a chicken or the egg type of thing, but you've got to start with that unwavering belief that I am the prize. Now, what we're going to talk about is how to actually implement that belief when you're with a woman. How do you display this without coming out and saying, hey, I'm the prize? Because if you tell somebody something, they're going to go, yeah, that's not true, or I don't believe that, or you're clearly not like that. But if she assumes it on her own, right, then we talked about if you act like it, then she believes it. So how do you act like the prize? Well, that's step number 2. The next thing you have to do is you have to stop chasing validation. So I'm going to write stop chasing validation. And what I mean by that is kind of think of it like this. I often say when two people get together, one person tries harder, and the person who tries harder holds less power in the interaction. Well, what's also going on is there is something called a validation vacuum. When a man and a woman get together, right? If you ask a woman out on a date or you're meeting up with her, there's this validation vacuum where somebody is going to be trying to get validation. Somebody is going to be trying to impress the other person. And it's sort of this thing that if it's not happening, it's kind of weird. It's like, whoa, what's going on? So if you stop trying to impress her, she's going to instinctively try to fill that vacuum with validation, trying to impress you and get validation from you, because it's just this thing where somebody has to do it. One person's always going to be trying to get the other person to like them more. It's just the way it is when two people get together. So if you stop chasing her validation, she's going to start chasing your validation. What does it mean to stop chasing validation? Very simple. It's stop trying to impress her. Stop going into your head and going, what can I say that is impressive about me? Okay, well, I got this good job. I can tell her about my job and the promotion I got, or I can mention, the town that I live in because I know that she's going to think that's a good town. I can mention the vacations I take. I can mention the car I drive. I can mention like all of these things. We don't really do it on a conscious level, but when we're with somebody that we want to try to impress, that's what our brain starts going towards. Even overly trying to show her that you're a funny guy and make her laugh and tell entertaining stories, when you're doing that and she's sitting back relaxing, well, you're sort of the entertainer. You're trying to get her validation. She's the audience that you're trying to win over. And what's interesting is that women actually want to be the one winning you over. They want you to be the audience that is a little, not impossible to win over, but doesn't laugh at everything and isn't immediate with the applause. She wants to work a little bit. So you want to allow her to switch into that role because that's the role she would rather be in. It's the role she feels more comfortable in. Another thing to think about when we talk about not chasing validation is it's always better to show instead of tell. So if you think about a lot of the reasons you're going to tell her that you do something, right? Maybe you want to tell her about your vacation to South America, or you want to tell her about your new job promotion. What you're really trying to do is show a trait that you have, right? You're trying to show, okay, I travel to South America, which means I'm trying to show her I'm adventurous, or maybe you're trying to show her that you're successful enough to do that. If you're telling her about your new job, you're trying to show her that you're a leader, that you're good at what you do. But the reality is we believe something more when we see it with our own eyes. So instead of telling her how you're adventurous, be adventurous with her. Instead of telling her that you're a leader at work, lead her. Take her and say, hey, let's go do this. Lead the vibe with her. Make bold statements around her. Take charge. And she's gonna come to her own assumption, oh, this guy's a leader. Or same thing, if you're, instead of telling her the adventurous stuff that you do, be adventurous with her. Go, this guy's kind of boring. I got a really cool place we can go to. Be adventurous. That's way more believable than you telling her, oh, I did this and I did that, because that comes across as trying to impress her. Another thing to keep in mind with this idea of not chasing validation is not overly explaining yourself. So if somebody's the prize and we want them to like us, we often tend to try to justify things. So if we aren't really comfortable with the job we have, we might try to explain it. Well, I'm only doing this for a little while until I find something better, right? That's explaining yourself. If you're currently a little out of shape, right? It's the holidays right now, and maybe you're like, I'm a little overweight. And you try to explain, well, I'm normally in better shape, but I've just been letting myself go. You're explaining yourself. And when you do that, you're showing the person that their opinion is really important to you and you're trying to impress them. You want to reverse that, right? You want to take chasing validation out, because when you do that, to fill that vacuum, she is going to start wanting your validation. So the third thing that you want to do in terms of being the prize is be the decision maker. This is something that a lot of guys have difficulty understanding when you're meeting a woman and you get her out on a date, right? Because I coach guys all the time that they go out on a date or two and then the woman loses interest. And it's always because of this, because she's clearly the prize in her eyes by the way he's treating her. And once a woman knows she's the prize, she goes, oh, I got options. And there's something that we don't want to be with somebody who really views us as being up on a pedestal. But what a lot of guys don't understand is that we think, well, we're sick of getting ghosted by women. We're sick of women losing interest after a couple dates. But here's the thing, women are just as sick of this. Women are going out on all these dating apps and meeting all these guys who never call them back, who ghost them, who sleep with them and never talk to them again. And in her mind, all these guys are the prize. They got ghosted, they're complaining, they're worried, they're sitting by the phone. Well, that's the prize. So if you come into it and you start treating her like the prize, then there's something like off to her about that. So when I say be the decision maker, go into it going, I'm not automatically impressed by her. I don't automatically want this girl to be my girlfriend. I don't know what I want from her. She seems kind of cool, she's attractive, I definitely want to kiss her and see if there's a spark there, but I don't know what I want. I want to get to know her. And when you do that, when you go into it with this attitude of, I don't know what I want to get to know her, you become the decision maker. And what does this mean in action, right? How do you demonstrate this? Well, we're gonna use something that I call next level deep validation. Next level deep curiosity, okay? So validation comes from curiosity. This is what I mean. Next level deep curiosity before validating. So let's say you're talking to a woman and you find out she's a lawyer. Well, the natural instinct of a guy who's trying to impress a woman or trying to get a woman to like him is to go, oh my God, you're a lawyer. That must have been so hard. You went through school. That's so cool. You must be making a lot of money. Like there's all these things that we're validating her for. But the reality is we don't know why she chose to be a lawyer. So if you start going, oh my God, that's so cool. That must have been so hard. You think you're like making her feel good, but what if her family had the expectation she was going to be a lawyer and that's not really what she wanted to do? Well, now when you tell her how cool it is that she's a lawyer, it doesn't mean anything to her, right? It kind of just seems like a kiss-ass thing to say. So instead, what I always say is go next level deep before validating. Always be curious to learn more. So she's like, what do you do for a living? I'm a lawyer. Oh, what made you decide to do that? How did you decide you want to do that? So then she might go, well, I've always been into the law. Growing up, you've always been into the law. That's kind of interesting. I never met a little kid who was like studying law. What got you excited about law? Like what drew you to that? And now she might go, well, it was just this, history. I loved history. Oh, you like history. You're always going next level deep because when you do that, what's going on here? She's going in her brain and going, oh, he wants to know why I got drawn to law. Okay, what is my reason? And she's subconsciously gonna try to impress you. Oh, you liked history. Oh, and then finally you're eventually gonna get to the root of it. And she might go, it's something about whatever it is, right? Whatever that ultimate reason she chose is, then you can go, oh, that's really cool. And now it means something to her. And it also is positioning you as not being easily won over. So go next level deep with your curiosity before validating a woman. The next one is a simple one. I wanted to give you, I know I gave some sort of theoretical ones. This one is a simple one, and it's ask her for a favor. And what's interesting about this one is, as guys, we tend to think, well, to get a woman to like me, I'm going to do her a favor. So if she's complaining that, her car is making a weird sound, we might automatically go, I know a little bit about cars. I'll take a look at it. Or if she's mentioning, that her computer's not working, whatever we're good at, we want to jump at an opportunity to do her a favor because we think that's going to make her like us more. But what Ben Franklin talked about like 200 years ago was this idea that we actually like somebody more when they when we find ourselves doing a favor for them. So Ben Franklin says, if you want somebody to like you, ask them for a favor. It's counterintuitive, right? Like if we want somebody to, how does that work? Why does somebody like me more? And it's something called effort justification, which means when we're going after something, when we're doing something, we want to believe that we're doing it for a reason that makes sense. Oh, we like this person. It's the same thing with goals. So if you're trying to, get a new job and you're chasing this goal, part of you wants to find the reasons you're doing it. Oh, well, the reason I'm working 80 hours a week at this new job is because it's going to allow me to live this life that I really want, and it's worth it, right? Well, if she's doing you a favor, part of her brain is going to start going, well, why am I doing this? Oh, I must like this guy. It must be worth it, right? It's effort justification. And the thing is that I had a friend did really well with women, this guy Doug, and he used to do this all the time. I never understood it. Like literally we'd be like, he'd meet a girl at a bar, and like 5 minutes into talking to her, he'd be like, hey, can you hold my drink for a second? And then he'd just like turn and talk to like us while she's holding his drink. And I'd always be like, that's so rude. And then I understand. And he wasn't doing it as a tactic. Doug was one of those guys that had the unwavering belief that he was the prize. So he thought like, why would she not want to hold my drink, right? And he would wind up getting her because there's something in that. When we do somebody a favor, we begin to like them more. So you don't need to go overboard with this. You don't need to have a girl doing you like favor after favor after favor. But at the same time, don't be afraid to ask for a favor early on with a woman. It could be something as simple as if she mentions she's really good with editing phone videos. Oh, you know what? Can you like show me how to do it? And don't make the favor seem like an excuse to hang out with her. Like that's different, right? We've all made that mistake too, where it's like, she's like, oh, I'm good at yoga. Oh, can you show me how to do it? Well, then part of her brain goes, oh, he's just using that. So instead what you can say is, can you make me a video on how to do that? Can you just like record yourself making a video? Because now it seems more real, and she's putting work in, and she's sitting there with the camera going, why am I doing this? And she feels like she likes you. It's weird, but true. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is set and communicate standards. Set and communicate standards. So a few years back, I was going to get some cosmetic work done on my teeth. And I was going to a bunch of different dentists. And it was really interesting, this whole idea of the prize. Some dentists I would go to and I'd walk in and they'd be like just hovering over me and trying to like, do you want water? Do you need anything? And then they'd give me the thing, do you have any questions? And like they'd be kind of kissing my ass to get me to use them. And then I'd leave and I'd get like emails from, have you decided yet? Do you have any questions? And there was always something I was like, why is this person, if they're really good at what they do, shouldn't I be like chasing after them? And then this other dentist, the one that I wound up going with, he was like, you walk in his door, there's a sign, if you're more than 5 minutes late, you're gonna have to reschedule. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of a mean thing to write, right? If I'm 5 minutes like no exceptions, if you're over 5 minutes late, you must reschedule. Then I walk in and I tell him, because I had an appointment to go to afterwards, and I was like, and I already had been to like 3 or 4 other dentists, so I kind of knew the spiel, I knew what I wanted. And he started going into his procedures, and I started to say, listen, I already know what I want, and I have somewhere to go. Can you just kind of tell me like what it's gonna cost? And he was like, no. He's like, I need to explain to you what I'm gonna do. If you don't have time now, you can come back. If you don't wanna hear it, then maybe we're not right for each other. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. So I like pulled out my phone and I texted, I was like, hey, I'm gonna be a little late. And I sat there and I listened to him. And then he gave me the price, which was a few $1,000s higher than everybody else. And I kind of asked him, and he goes, listen, you're paying for what you're paying for quality. Like, no, he wasn't explaining it. He wasn't apologetic about it. He was just very matter of fact. And he never like begged me with email follow-ups like, hey, did you think about it yet? Never heard from him. I wound up going, hey, I want to use that guy. Because in my mind, that was the prize, right? Because he set and communicated standards, and he didn't need my business enough. So how does this relate to women? Well, One example that you can do is not letting a woman downgrade your meetups. This is something my friend Chris talks about too, and I think a video we did together, we talked about this idea where if you're gonna hang out with a woman and you're supposed to meet up with her for dinner, and you hit her up and like, hey, so you wanna grab dinner, and all of a sudden she's like, hey, you know what? I'm kind of tired tonight, but why don't we meet for lunch? That's like a downgrade, right? Because we all know that dinner is a much better opportunity to get to know her. There's a much better chance that the night is going to continue back at one of your places later. You know, it's just a much better environment for a date than lunch. Lunch is like this like thing that it's like after an hour, you got to leave, right? And so what happens is a lot of guys, because they see her as the prize, they go, well, if I lose this opportunity, I might not see her again. So they say, oh, sure, I'll meet you for lunch. But the reality is you want to set and communicate your standards and go, hey, you know what? I'll tell you what, why don't we just reschedule for a night you have free? I'd rather meet for dinner. And you might be thinking, well, I might lose my chance. But in her mind, you just communicated that you're the prize by doing that. Well, he's like, it's not that important to meet up with me that he's willing to meet lunch. Same thing when a lot of times if a woman's being wishy-washy with you. So if you're saying, hey, this Friday, do you want to go to this thing I got tickets for? And she's like, oh, can I let you know? I'm still figuring things out, right? A lot of girls do that. Just go, hey, you know what? I can tell this week's not good for you. Let's just do it another time. Take the offer off the table. Because again, if you don't want wishy-washy behavior, if you don't want a girl downgrading you, then don't allow it. Don't give her that opportunity. Take the offer away. That's what a prize would do. When my dentist, when I said to him, hey, can you just tell me how much this is gonna cost without the whole spiel? He goes, you know what? Maybe we're not right for each other. He goes, if I'm gonna work with you, I want you to know what my procedure is. If you don't have time to do that, we can either reschedule this meeting or maybe it's not a good fit.
En la descripción encontrarás el video que describe el Scrambler, la técnica que hace que una mujer se enamore perdidamente de ti rápidamente, y varias sorpresas que te convertirán en un hombre naturalmente atractivo. Haz clic abajo, suscríbete y déjanos un comentario. Saludos.